Let's get some analysis on this story now. Our Chief Foreign Affairs Editor, Rob Parsons, is with me. Rob, first of all, why are we seeing all of this now?
I mean, first of all, it's part of an ongoing pattern of, you could call it bullying, I suppose, of Taiwan by China, keeping the pressure up all the time. But particularly at the moment, I suppose, because the People's Liberation Army exercises held at the end of every year are coming to an end now, and it could be seen as being part of that. They're putting pressure on the Taiwanese Air Force, stressing them as much as they can to see how they respond to that. But you know, it's also, I think, a warning to the Taiwanese just a couple of days or so before Taiwan's National Day, October the 10th, not to step too far out of line, as the Chinese would see it. In other words, not to get closer or even worse, to say that Taiwan is independent. President Tsai of Taiwan has indicated on several occasions in the past that she is not intending to do anything of the sort. She goes further, though, and says, look, we have no need to make a declaration of sovereignty or independence. We're already a sovereign country. That's a sort of way of getting out of it so that everybody's happy. You know, other reasons, though, I think, why they're doing this now, the formation very recently of that new alliance that riled the French so much because of the sale of the submarines that was lost, AUKUS, Australia, United Kingdom and the United States, which although doesn't state that it is intended as an alliance against China, quite clearly is an alliance intended to contain China, particularly in the South China Sea, but more broadly in Indo-Asia as well. I suppose, Beijing saying, look, you can form your alliances if you like, but bear in mind there's going to be a price to be paid for this. Our relations are going to get sourer. There will always be the possibility of you getting sucked into something that you don't really want to be sucked into.
So in your view, then, there is a relatively high risk of escalation here? I
think there is a real risk of escalation, if only because when you up the stakes to this extent, there's always a possibility of an accident. And an accident could trigger a response from the United States or from China, depending which party was offended, which in turn could lead to a further escalation. There is also that long-standing threat from the Chinese that if Taiwan should move closer towards a declaration of independence or make a formal declaration of independence, they retain the right after a change to their constitution in 2004 to use what they call non-peaceful means to regain control of Taiwan and make it part of the People's Republic of China. So that is clearly a possibility. The United States, for its part, has been pushing back against the pressure from the Chinese. President Biden saying earlier this year that the commitment to Taiwan was rock solid on the part of Washington, and the United States would continue selling its weapons and boosting the defenses of the Taiwanese. And the Taiwanese president also saying, look, we are not going to give in to this sort of pressure. We will be arming ourselves. We will be preparing, as we saw in that report, we will be preparing for any sort of aggression. And when both sides are sort of going at each other like that, but holding back at the last minute, there's always that risk that something could happen. And the concern is growing in the region. We heard just over the last 24 hours, Japan suggesting that it is beginning to change its approach to the problem over Taiwan, considering its options should things start to get much worse than they already are. There is a fear expressed in an article written by the Taiwanese president published today that things could seriously get out of hand.
All right, Rob Parsons, thanks very much indeed for your analysis on the programme there.